Well, as we've been talking about all morning, New York City schools will be in session, just not next week, right? The threat of a strike prompted Mayor de Blasio to push back the start of the school year.
We found a way to do this in a way that makes sense and is attainable for a school system this large.
Every single New York City school building has to pass a 50-point safety plan before students and teachers can head back to class. Let's round out our coverage this morning. We had a parent, we had the chancellor, now we have the UFT president, Michael Mulgrew, joining me live to shed light on that plan. Good morning to you, Mr. Mulgrew. Here we go. You ready?
Good morning. Let's go.
All right. One of the main demands from the teachers union from all of you was to ensure monthly COVID testing and nurses at every single school. That was a big task. Did it meet your demand?
Yeah, but it wasn't just our demand. We had made a decision in April that we wouldn't go back unless we had outside independent medical experts if our plan would meet their seal of approval, and this plan does. They told us that medical monitoring of every school on a monthly basis was one of the key components in terms of trying to screening basically to make sure that you catch the virus before it starts doing any damage inside of a school community. So yes, this has met what we have been saying all along. So
just to be very clear here, because the last time you were on, you said you wanted every teacher, every student to be tested prior. The chancellor was just on moments ago, and he said that it'll, and like you're saying now, it'll just be a section, a sample. So did you have to concede a little bit to what you were hoping for?
No, there were two things we were saying. What you're talking about is a massive pool test. That was something when we first put our demands together that the doctors were telling us, hey, you can do it, but just be clear that it's only going to guarantee safety for 3 to 4 days following the test. And that the major thing that we always needed was the medical monitoring, the nurse in every school. We needed to make sure that every time there's a problem inside of a zip code, if there's a school in that zip code, that school then would get what we call massive testing protocols would kick in. And that everything else that was, the most important things are still the mask, the PPE, the social distancing, and everything else at the school itself. Right. So it was a combination of a complete package of all of these things that we needed. And we do now have the most aggressive policies and the greatest safeguards of any public school system in the country. And I think we deserve it because of what we went through in March.
Of course. Teachers, they are expected to report to work next week. So do you expect to see a lot of them actually still opt out of in-person learning? What are you hearing amongst the rank and file?
Teachers don't opt out of in-person learning. Students opt out. So that number, from what I hear, has been going up because parents weren't sure. And hopefully now that the parents can see this is a very aggressive plan. And it has great safeguards in it in terms of if the plan is not being followed, now, we could go to the city hall, but more importantly, if city hall doesn't agree, we can have a quick relief by either going to the state education department because this plan it's been submitted to the state and the city now must follow it. So it wouldn't follow a normal grievance process. So parents can see that and we can hopefully move forward because it is important what our schools supply our communities, as we all know.
They're still looking to get all nurses staffed in time for September 10th, even though the in-person is September 21st. And they're still working on some of the ventilation issues. If that isn't where it needs to be, what's your plan?
School doesn't open.
That's on your.
That school will not open.
So
it's really that.
What happens then on September 21st besides that one school? Is that the chancellor didn't say that? He said that they're going to have it in place in time.
Right, but that's beauty. That is how this is the most aggressive. If we walk into a school, just say this Tuesday, teachers are supposed to go to school. We'll get a report from the Department of Ed. But if teachers show up in a school on Tuesday and they tell us none of the PPE was delivered, we tell them to leave. And the school can't be used until that is in place. That goes for all of the major things inside of the plan. If a room's ventilation hasn't been cleared, then the room can't be used. If there isn't a nurse at the building, then the building can't open. And that's what this plan does. So we can assure every parent that this is serious and that all schools are being treated the same. This is truly equity in terms of every school will have the same safeguard.
So where does the UFT stand with the independent safety reviews of all schools in the city?
Well, at this moment, we've done over 1,000 individual schools. We have a list which we'll be distributing to our membership. to our union leaders at the school buildings tomorrow. We're sharing all that information with the Department of Education. And of course, everything's not in place. So we said, these things have to be in place in order for teachers to walk into the school on Tuesday. And then we have more time now to actually get everything in place instead of rushing and opening. Because if we would have opened on September 10th, it would not have been a good experience for staff, students, or parents. And that is why as we got closer and closer to the beginning of school, the whole idea that the city didn't start working earnestly on this in April and May, we knew that was going to be the problem.
So just to be very clear here, it's all systems go for 9/21, September 21st. And if an individual school doesn't meet the demands of what you want, that school will not open.
Yeah, it's not the demand. It's if it doesn't meet the agreement that all parties have agreed those things have to be in place, then that school cannot open.
Okay, understood. And real quick, just want to get your take on polling places in November. Are you for or against having them at schools?
I love democracy, but I'd really like to get as many outside of the schools as possible. And I understand that's a major shift because New York City is so large. But we're working very hard right now with the city and with the agencies to try to find alternative space because the more people inside of a building, the more problems you could have. And that's what we're trying to avoid is, we're opening the largest school system in the United States. And we're the only large school system opening in this country. But that's a testament to what the teachers have fought for to make it safe. And anything we can do to get, we don't need anything extra to deal with. So we'd rather they move out.
Understood. Mr. Mulgrew, appreciate you making the time this morning. And good luck with the start of the school year on September 21st. Hopefully we talk to you before then.